Hey, everybody. It's the Dynamite Show. Paul Fontaine, Jeff Hawkins here on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. Also on the Fight Game Media free audio feed on Thursday mornings. If you're listening later, I want to thank you all for supporting the show and for watching. And we already saw John in the chat here, so good to see John. And hopefully some other regulars will be back. We also, something I was going to bring up to you off air, Jeff, but we'll have to decide and we'll talk about it maybe on the show or maybe afterwards. But we got to set a date for the special show that we're going to do. The show has been chosen by Lady B. It is the Fighter Fest from 2021, which she called the Space Jam episode, which is technically true, but it's also the episode where Nick Gage challenged Chris Jericho and used a pizza cutter in a thing that may or may not have cost them sponsors. So we're going to watch that show again. Should be a lot of fun. I'm going to go back actually, and I should have my notes from that show somewhere in my email. And I'll take notes on this one, and then I'll compare it to the last one, which could be fun.
Give me at least 2 weeks because next week is Mania.
Right.
And I have to do the shows on Fightful. After Manias, so I'll be worn out of wrestling, and I just won't want to watch it for a while.
Yeah, so I was going to suggest either this coming weekend or the week after Mania. So maybe we'll potentially
possibly do this weekend.
Possibly, we'll talk. We'll talk, and we'll notify people.
All right,
you'll all get notified. If you subscribe to this channel, you'll get a notification when the show is scheduled. And I like this. Time to light the fuse and ignite the Dynamite review. I like that. That's from Fernando, AEW fan and fan of our show. So it's good to see Fernando in the chat here, as well as John and anybody else that joins us. So this Sunday, AEW Dynasty, which was quite the show. I will just tell you, I couldn't watch it live, just family issue things and stuff. So I started watching the show at 10:30 my time, which is 11:30 Eastern, 8:30 your time. And you know how long the show was. And I got a text just as I was starting to watch it. And it's from our friend Dean, who also listens to the show. He's like, have you, oh my goodness. I'll get to your super chat in a second, DJ. That's awesome to hear. So I get a text from him and he asked me, oh, are you watching Dynasty? And I said, oh, I just started. And he's like, well, it's 11:30 in the building. The show started at 6:30. And they still haven't gotten to the main event. And then he's messaging me, and it's like a half an hour later. So it's midnight in the building now. And he says, we just got started the main event. And then 10 minutes after that, no sign of a finish yet. And he's going back and forth. He wanted to know what I was going to rate the three-way and all this stuff. But I mean, that show was way too long. And I was, as I was watching, I'm like, I was to a point where I was really enjoying everything on the show. And then we got to Jericho Bandito, and I didn't think that match was very good. But then I'm like, as I'm watching, I'm like, well, there's only 2 matches left. We've got the three-way and we've got the main event. And then they are a package for Daniel Garcia and Adam Cole. And I was like, oh, F my life. I got to sit through this. And it's at this point, it's 1:30. No, it's about 1:00 my time. And so that match finishes. Kenny match starts. And it's like 1:30 my time. And I'm like, okay, if I finish this match before 2, then I'll watch the main event. If not, I'm going to watch the main event tomorrow. I finished the match at 1:59. So it's like, okay, I'll watch the main event. I didn't get to bed till 2:45. This freaking show was way too long. And then the ending with the Bucks returning, and we'll talk about this, and costing Swerve the match was just a perfect capper to the evening, and not in a good way. And like I said, if they had eliminated 2 matches from this show, maybe 3, I would be, even with the shitty finish at the ending, I would have been calling it one of the shows of the year. But as it was, I didn't enjoy myself.
I did not watch live either. My brother was in town and staying with me. Not a wrestling fan, but I left for drinks with his friends because he has friends that live near me. Right at the beginning of Ospreay and Jet, and got home right as the main event started.
Wow.
Yeah, I had watched part of 0 Hour. My brother, not a wrestling fan, looks at Action Andretti and Lio Rush. He goes, "What are they wearing?"
That was the pre-show. Yeah.
That was the pre-show, but he also goes, "Those guys are wrestlers?" Question mark.
Yeah, but I'll bet you was impressed with the
He
flying moves they did.
he was impressed with the flying, but it was one of those things. I mean, no, because he's impressed with flying. And the last time he watched wrestling was when we were in Kansas City for the AFC title game, and the Rumble was on, and it was the John Woo spot with Logan Paul and Ricochet.
Oh wow, yeah.
And he was like, "Oh wow, he can really go." Yeah, he was impressed by
Lio
that.
Rush is a guy that I would show a non-wrestling fan and say, like,
yeah, but Lio Rush didn't get to shine all that much in this match. So otherwise,
it was a good match, though. It was a good match.
Yeah, I am mostly with you. I had a colonoscopy yesterday, so while I was recovering, I watched the rest of Dynasty. It went fine. I agree. I think if you shorten the card, you can get away with that ending.
Yeah.
I am also of the opinion, and I keep on battling myself if I'm being consistent here. I don't mind an unhappy ending. I just don't want the next story to start during the main, as a cause for this main event to end. I want this. You're paying for this card. You want the end of the story, whether or not you like it or you don't. I don't want introduction of next chapter necessarily, unless it's just a stare down.
I think that Tony's mentality is that he's giving you the Bucks return, and that's going to get people excited. Not considering the fact that they may not like the fact that the Bucks just cost the guy who I think a lot of people were convinced was actually going to win.
Well, I think it was twofold. I think he wanted the lights out thing for Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And and it's a little bit of Nitro thinking, where you were booking the pay-per-view to feed people to the free TV when it should be the opposite.
And to be fair, WWE does that as well. But the difference there is it's not a pay-per-view. I mean, the pay-per-views are essentially just big TV specials now. Like, you're not really paying for them.
Yeah.
Even Mania. So yeah, it was, but like I said, like I will say, like, the positives, that three-way match was maybe the best three-way match I've ever seen. For me, like, I like that style. And I thought it was right up there with the best match of the year. I would put it even with Omega and Gabe Kidd, completely different matches, but I really enjoyed it.
Let me give a footnote to the ending of the main event.
Okay.
I said to myself, I went, well, if they explain this well enough on Dynamite, I'll be fine with this ending. They did not.
Fernando, you may have missed this. He wanted to know they need to explain the shredding of documents when they left quickly. Kenny kind of tried to do that. He claimed they were shredding documents of all the expensive things they'd spent money on, but he kind of flubbed his way through the line, and I don't know exactly what he was trying to say, but didn't really come through very well.
No, I mean, like, look, I liked the sixth man. I thought that was fun. I thought both.
I thought that over delivered. Like the match and the angle. The angle was great.
Yeah, the angle was watching Tax and Cash with the gurney was worth the price of admission alone in terms of
Cash getting on the gurney and then like pretending to be saying, and then he gets off.
And then
he
the
needs
CPR,
it more than I do.
And then it's like, I can walk. Yeah. I liked Megan Bain and Tony Storm a lot, and I even liked Julia and Mercedes more than some.
I did too, and I saw a lot of criticism for that match, and I thought that's like the best match Julia's ever had that didn't involve weapons or blood.
Right.
Yeah, like, and I don't know.
I liked her new gear too, to be honest with you. I think
I didn't really notice.
It was a little bit of Lita cosplay, but other than that, I mean, it was cool. Well, I like it better than the Stevie Nicks gear that she was wearing, like the
So. I think she's a little lost right now, like between gimmicks. Yeah, and like they're going out of their way to like avoid saying Malachi Black, and so they're like, she was taught the dark arts of professional wrestling by Brody King and Buddy Matthews. I'm like, okay, I've been watching. That's not what happened.
Yeah, there's Brody and Buddy stable is a go nowhere stable.
No,
So
I think they should just do Brody and Julia as a unit. And
I'd be
sorry,
fine with that.
buddy. Yeah, sorry, buddy. Like, you can be a single. You can join a different crew. Or you can join the Death Riders for all I care. They need another guy.
They need a guy now. Yeah.
Although Buddy's injured too. So.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Remember he hurt himself on the ring, the short ring, the small ring. He was bitching about it on Twitter after. Yeah. So. But yeah. So I mean, the tag match was, it was a TV match. It was basically there for the angle. It was exactly what I said it was going to be last week. MJF was going to interfere, trying to help them, and when they didn't need the help, and we saw the result of that, which we'll go over later. Trying to think of what else there was. The 2 Owen matches went about as well as you would expect. I thought the Ospreay Kenny King match was really, really good. I can't say it over delivered because I was expecting it to be great, but Kenny King, I'm sure, impressed a lot of people. So
Mark Briscoe was good.
Fletcher Briscoe. You said Punk. I don't know why you said Punk, but Fletcher Briscoe was. You said Punk Briscoe, yeah.
No, I said Mark Briscoe looked good.
Oh yeah. The Briscoe Fletcher match. Okay, I thought that was awesome. I thought, like, up to that point, it was the best match on the show.
Didn't need to be on this card though.
It didn't. And I will say the 2 TV matches were actually, I thought, a little bit better, which is really weird because normally if you take a TV match that's really good and put it on pay-per-view, it's going to be better. But I think that in this case, it was just kind of there because there was so much other stuff going on. Whereas if you would have made it the main event of this show, oh my God, it could have been awesome. Could have been one of the best matches. Oh, did I say Kenny King transferring heat? I'm sorry, Kevin Knight. My bad. They don't look anything alike. I just got the names wrong. The names look alike. That's what it is. So yeah, it was, I don't know how it did. I saw a lot of people unhappy. It had the 3rd lowest rating on Cage Match of any AEW pay-per-view in history, behind World's End not last year, but the year before, the one where they false advertised the MJF, like Adam Cole defending the title for MJF, that one. And then All Out 2020, which I don't remember, but I guess people didn't like it.
You remember? Okay, and now going into Dynamite.
Yeah.
You remember after Revolution, they had that great video package to start the show.
Yep.
Did not do it this time.
No. And not only that, there was nothing advertised for this show. Now, if you're on Twitter, you would have saw announcements start coming in yesterday. But as of yesterday around 2:00, because someone posted on our Discord, there was not a single thing that had been announced for this show. Not one. Now, we had 5 Owen Hart Cup matches, most of which did not involve people that were on the pay-per-view. So any one of them could have been announced ahead of time. The Kris Statlander Thunder Rosa match, there's no reason they couldn't have announced that last week, because they weren't on the pay-per-view, so he didn't have to worry about injuries. We had, we had the Brody King and Takeshita match. We had Kyle Fletcher and or not Kyle Fletcher. There's other Owen matches. Athena,
Wild Card and Hangman.
Wild Card and Hangman. We still don't know when that's happening. Although Hangman in his promo said next week he's got to fight the Wild Card, but they didn't actually announce it. So that was funny. I'll just bring this up quickly. If you listen to the media call, somebody had asked the question, because remember we talked about this last week about the Chris Jericho match. We thought it was supposed to be on Dynasty, but they didn't announce it when they did the rundown. So somebody asked Tony about it. He says, last week you announced Chris Jericho versus Bandito was going to be for the ROH title versus Mask on Dynasty. And then Tony's like, well, no, Chris Jericho challenged him, but I haven't heard from Bandito yet. So I don't know if he's going to accept the challenge, and we haven't announced it. So that match, we're trying to make that match happen, and it should happen soon, but I don't know when. And then like an hour after the conference call was over, they announced the match. And it's like, I don't know if they forgot. He's something about Bandito's representatives, he said. So perhaps they were, Bandito wanted to make sure he was going to win because he didn't want to lose his mask.
Scheduled for next hour. I have to stall for that.
Yeah. But he was almost answering the question in kayfabe. Like, I'm sorry. Nothing I can do. He hasn't answered. So,
I think he does more of that too.
Before we go any further, I do want to get to the super chat, and I want to thank DJ Cast. So now we're $10 towards our next our next special show. DJ Cass says, "What's up, you guys? Hope you're doing well. I'm pleased to say I'm in 2 months in wrestling referee training for AML in the Carolinas. That's awesome.
Nice.
I don't. So I know that there's another promotion in the Carolinas. Oh, and he also gave us another $10. Thought tonight's show was good overall, except for Shibata immediately popping up after a pile driver from Moxley and then transitioned into a chinlock. Oh, that's in my notes. So yeah, thanks a lot. And DJ, best of luck. You have to let us know when you get onto a show and if we can watch it anywhere. I'll have a watch and maybe even give my thoughts. And hey, maybe you'll end up on Darker Elevation someday. Or no, those shows are gone. ROH.
ROH.
There's another promotion in the Carolinas that our friend, or I don't know if she's your friend, but remember that girl that came to the F4W convention that one year? She went there to meet Sean McGee, the guy from the UK, and they had met online, and she came to meet him, and she was a brand new wrestling fan who became a fan watching The Miz and John Cena at WrestleMania. And she was such a fan that she was going to NXT shows in Florida. This is before they got on TV. Like this is when they were just online. God, Christy Party, I think was her name. And so she ended up getting a job as an interviewer for this promotion in the Carolinas, and it's where Trevor Lee worked. And I can't remember, was it Mid-Atlantic? No, it's not Mid-Atlantic.
No, it's not, but I know the promotion you're talking about.
Yeah, but this is a different one.
Because his dad owned it, right? Trevor.
Oh, okay. So I think she ended up marrying one of the wrestlers, and now she's got kid and stuff, and I don't think she's in the business anymore. But great girl. I really I had a great conversations with her, and I'm still chat with her every once in a while. She's a big soap opera fan, music fan. But anyways, great DJ Cass, and keep us updated on that. That's awesome.
Congrats on that. So we go into Dynamite. And we had an angle where Cope was taken out. We had the Bucks return, and they screwed over Swerve. And what do we start with? A wrestling match.
Well, no, we started with a Mox promo.
Well,
to be fair,
yeah. Okay.
So, but no package. They did tell us that Swerve got screwed. I believe. I think they mentioned that. CWF Mid-Atlantic. Yes, thank you, Transferring Heat. That's the one.
That would be it.
Yeah, and that was and I watched a few of their shows because I wanted to see Christy and doing the interview stuff, and I thought it was for an indie show pretty good. So I would imagine AML probably has a lot of the same kind of people working in it. Sounds like it's maybe the same area. I don't know, but good for DJ Cass, and awesome. And they do we want to get? Yeah, we might as well get into the show now then. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. They did. So the WrestleTick's putting up some new information when they do their tweet. So they did 3,018 fans. The last time they were in this building was 3 years ago for a Dynamite, and they had only did 2,732 back then. So that's pretty good. And year to date, the Dynamite average is 2,748. So they're a little bit above the year to date average. So that's also good. And the last time they were in this market, but a different building, they did 4,694. So this was Baltimore, and they were in the Chesapeake Arena this time. I think last time they were in like the big, like the hockey basketball building. So
yeah.
We opened with a Mox promo. In the promo, he called the AEW roster the single most talented roster in the history of wrestling. But he didn't use these words, but essentially he said they can't get their shit together and they don't want it. And we'll scorch the earth of anyone that wants to call themselves a contender. He says, Matt and Nick have returned. Interesting power players, but who's who? I'm surrounded by warriors, but you two, I don't recognize you, and I haven't for a long time. You're on a board, and you don't even know what the game is. So be careful, really careful, before you make any moves. So kind of a bit of a mission statement. And Lady B points out, 1 year later, props to the Bucks for saying them taking over AEW failed. We all knew that, but okay. So yeah, the promo was okay. Moxley got to the point pretty quickly. I thought it was taped, so that probably helped. Right?
I thought it was okay. I wanted something more from it. And it was just kind of like an intro to now Moxley's gonna wrestle Shibata.
Oh, you'd get more.
Oh no! And please, when we get to these points, please stop after every individual that stops
I will.
by.
Oh, it was the WWE promo train.
Yes.
But first we got a match that was basically just a setup for a bunch of promos. It was Jon Moxley versus Katsuyori Shibata. So no mention of the fact that Jon Moxley was the champion. So I don't know if this was a proving ground match or, I mean, it clearly wasn't for the title. I don't think. I might as well have been, but it wasn't. They just had a match. So earlier today in the Discord, we were talking about, well, how are they going to open up the show? Because they hadn't really announced anything. And it's like, well, we should open with a Swerve promo, talking about getting screwed. We could open with the Bucks promo. Hey, we're back and blah, blah, blah. Oh, we could open with just that hot 8-man match, which we'll talk about later. Just out of the bars and running, just wow the crowd with the biggest audience. We could do that.
We could open with a health update on Adam Copeland, who was taken out in a stretcher.
Nobody cares about that. Or
we could at least adhere to the reality of things.
Or we could open with two old guys grappling.
Yeah.
And they chose that one. That they spent the first couple minutes just hugging each other and going to the mat and back up and everything. And this crowd was dead. Then they broke the grappling and started chopping each other. And then the crowd loved that. And then they were into it. So, they got into the match. But then as soon as they got into it, they went back to grappling. And then, they out of nowhere, Mox hits him with a pile driver. Shibata no-sells it, just gets right up. And after the announcers are trying to put over the fact that, Shibata almost ended his life from an injury, and Taz is saying, I was out 9 months from a pile driver. Shibata's up in less time than it took me to say that sentence. Hits him with a PK. And then they did some more grappling. Mox gouged his eyes and choked him out. And I don't know how long this was, maybe 6 minutes. Probably not even that long. And it was over. That was it. He just choked out Shibata, and that was it. I mean, it was fine. It was basically, I've seen jobber matches that went longer than this.
It was a match that happened.
Yeah.
And at least, okay.
2 3/4 stars.
So all of these faction members, in terms of the Ops and the Death Riders, were involved in the main event on Sunday. Why did the Ops not at least accompany Shibata down to the ring? And then, you kind of make it, both.
Oh, they were in the back training for their main event match.
2 hours later?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is one of those matches that would usually, like in the territory days, would be a TV main event, and then everybody's guys would come down and they'd be like slapping the mat for each other to see.
Well, as soon as the match was announced, everyone assumed it would be the main event. I mean, it's Jon Moxley, right? He's the world champion. Should be the main event. And then I was waiting for Dave's rant about how Katsuyori Shibata isn't a main eventer, but then we got this main event, which we'll get. Well, they announced, I think at some point, I think it was during this match, they announced the main event tonight. Stick around, folks. Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta against Samoa Joe and Hook. You don't want to miss that. That's the main event tonight. So
can you tell Tony was a tape trader?
A little bit.
Yeah.
No,
it was fun. Yeah, Shibata was out because they removed the brain from his skull.
Yeah.
And he popped up from a pile driver.
Yep. And
let's move on.
Yeah. So Mox is getting ready to leave, and all of a sudden the Bucks are out. And Mox still left. He left with Marina. Matt gives him a golf clap. Nick grabs a mic and he says, please give it up for your world champion, Jon Moxley. Show some damn respect for the founding fathers of all elite wrestling. Your EVPs. Fans are booing. He's like, shut the F up. And he said it that way. Everyone, the whole world is wondering, why the hell did you guys do what you did? Why did you cost Swerve the heavyweight championship? Well, we got a couple good reasons why. First of all, we did it for our good friend, the Hangman Adam Page. You're welcome, buddy. You see, this is what you wanted all along. You never wanted to Swerve to be the champion ever again, and we did that for you. We do not forget who our friends are. We love you, and we know you love us. So, do you want me to get into Matt, or do you have anything you want to say about Nick?
It's an excuse, but you need to do the work to get there, and they didn't.
Yeah.
But okay. I'm still kind of confused why Moxley just did like go after the Bucks.
Well, why would he? They helped him.
Well, because he still doesn't like them.
Well, he's undecided now. He
Oh,
wants
is
to
it?
see where they're at before he
Have they
decides.
have they told us that?
He kind of told us that in the promo, yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
So yeah, he was something else here. So Nick grabs a mic. Fans are, they don't want to hear from him. They're chanting whose house, Swerve's house. He waits for it to die down a bit. He says, Moxley, I wish you would have stuck around to hear this. Jon Moxley, Death Riders, what we did for you, consider it a peace offering. We got no problem with you, and I hope you got no problems with us. We sat at home for months and months and months and months, and we realized we got more in common with you than you think. Because we want to see that locker room rise to the occasion just like us. You want AEW to be the best just like us. You want to change the world just like us. And John, I'm impressed. Watching you, I saw you did what we couldn't do. You succeeded in taking over AEW. You got the AEW world title. We couldn't do that. Last Sunday was our elevator pitch to you and the Death Riders. Imagine the team synergy if the Death Riders and the Elite were together as one. Jon Moxley, the AEW world champion, and your founding fathers, the EVPs, all together. I'm asking you to come back out with your boys and let's discuss a little bit of business. So when that stopped, when he said discuss a little bit of business, whose music did you think was going to come out next? I thought it was going to be MVP. When he said a little bit of business, but
I just this explanation didn't meet the requirements of what they needed to do when they hit the ring when Moxley was still in there. They needed to be begging for a handshake or something then.
Yeah.
They need to, or like we're not worthy, doing the Wayne's World thing with Jon Moxley. They need to be supplicant to Jon Moxley because they're coming out here as equals to Jon Moxley and asking for a partnership when Moxley and company ran their ass off and beat up their best friend.
Oh, that's been completely forgotten, by the way.
Oh, I know it has, but not by me.
No, I know.
I'm not forgetting it.
But then again, why should we care? It was Brandon Cutler.
No, this is the whole point.
But then why do it?
This entire promo thing is why should we care?
Right.
Because good God. It's always nice of Kenny to put on some pants and go to work.
So out comes Kenny. And I should point out the Bucks were in suits. I mean, they were kind of, they look like
they looked fine. It was just the actions when they hit the ring. They need to be more, hey, buddy, hey, John. They need to be more slimy Bucks.
They look like they were trying out
the piece.
They look like they were trying out to be in a remake of Devil's Advocate. And they were like Al Pacino's like lawyer team. Like they're dressed in like devil suits. But Kenny comes out, he's dressed in a sweatshirt and shorts, and the shorts say Lucha Club on them.
You're interrupting my stream, bro. I gotta go back to it.
So he comes out, fans, they love him. They're chanting Kenny. So he starts out okay. He says, so you did all this for your friend, huh? Mox, Hanger. Well, you forgot to do me. If I remember, the last time we met, if memory serves correctly, at the height of my diverticulitis, you pushed me off a stretcher. I never forgot that, and I actually forgave you. But when I came back, I wasn't doing it for revenge. I was doing it for my legacy and for the safety of this company. And what we're trying to do now is bring back the feeling. And then he's like, but I hate to divert from the story, but I used to have this friend in high school. He had 2 Shih Tzu dogs. They're yappy as all hell, ugly as heck. Every time we went to his place, he'd play games. And they'd dookie on the floor, and no one cared. But they're pleased with themselves. And as time went by, more and more dookie was on the floor. Stains are there. Roma was more pungent. That's a lot like you guys without me around here in AEW. And of course, the fans start chanting dookie. And I'm convinced I'm watching Monday Night Raw at this point. And he says, last time we saw you on AEW TV, we saw you shred some documents. Like you were trying to cover something else. We all know how they operated. They brag about their earnings and money. So they're tearing up receipts of private jets. And then he stopped. And it was almost like it was being edited. And then he said something about OnlyFans. And it was pretty clear he completely lost track of what he was trying to say. And then, and then he just stops. And then he just goes on. He says, but it doesn't matter. The part that matters, what really pissed me off is it wasn't because of the Death Riders. It was you two that almost killed the company. I gave my life, heart, and soul for. And I can't lie. That time off has done you wonderfully. Nick, you look every bit of the 90 pounds you were before you left. And Matt, and then he just stops. And it's like death silence. And he's staring at Matt. The camera looks at him. He goes back. He smiles a bit. He completely forgot what he was going to say. Then he says, I mean, you look like the son of that low-cut phoenix. Like, I don't know what he was saying. And then he says, you look as red as Nick's lapels. And I'm looking at him, and he doesn't. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about. And he says, quite frankly, now that we got to this point, I could go on and on and on, but let's just cut out the middleman, and I'll just go to the ring, and we'll fight. So mercifully, that thing ended.
Yeah, and he was
concussed. What the hell's going on with?
He's emotionally disconnected from material, and he had a couple of bullet points.
Mm-hmm.
He had a couple of clever lines. I'm guessing they didn't really go over them. He goes, I'll remember them when I get out there, and I'm going to be in my zone. Don't produce me, whatever he wants to say. And then he got out there. He just was doing his promo, and he just plumb forgot. And he didn't have emotion to back up or to back him up because he was so disconnected from the promo because it was just exposition.
And I honestly, I really have no idea what this has to do with the storyline at all.
Nothing.
Yeah, that's the
problem. But the entire point of all these promos came in Swerve's unmiked wrap up. So continue, please.
Yeah. So out comes Okada, and he gets in the ring.
Why?
So now, and it almost I think some people thought he was actually going to defend Kenny. But then, of course, he goes with the Bucks, and now it's 3-on-1.
Yes.
Right. So then Swerve's music hits, and he comes out, and then the Bucks leave because Swerve had a chair. And actually, he came through the crowd. His music hit. They're all looking at the entrance, and then Swerve comes from behind with a chair. But the Bucks are smart heels, so they knew he was coming, and they left. And then the announcers remind us that the Bucks cost Swerve his title shot, and Kenny left after the Bucks and left Swerve in the ring. So now Swerve's in the ring by himself. And he's got a mic, and he says, I now pronounce it's buck hunting season. And I'm like, I've heard that line before. I don't know when. I think it might have been the Briscoes when they were feuding with the Bucks at some point. He said that.
Yes.
But he says, I'm here with a loaded shotgun, and I'm here to blast on some EVPs. Couldn't leave you well enough alone. I dealt with you last year. And then before he can go any further, he's attacked from behind by Pac. And then we got this travesty. So anything you want to add about Swerve? I thought Swerve was good.
Again, it was he's cutting the promo to the aisle, as opposed to say the camera when the Bucks leave. He should be livid at the Bucks. He should be he just should be. It's Bucks. It's like he should be out of his mind almost.
Well, why didn't he go after them?
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
He didn't after the match either. He just kind of walked back. I'm like, the Bucks are still in the building, my man.
They might be in Gorilla for all we know.
Yes.
Yeah. It was weird. So then this goes right into the match. It was Swerve Strickland versus Pac, and they brawled outside the ring for a while. Swerve's just kicking the shit out of them, and they basically they basically just kicked the shit out of them. And I think they had a longer match planned, but I guess he did a buckle bomb, and Pac hurt his foot somehow, maybe on the landing. Rolled out of the ring. The doctor came out to check on his foot or his ankle. Shivani said they might have to end the match. Meanwhile, they took the opportunity to plug upcoming shows while they're checking on him. Then Pac got to his feet. He couldn't even stand. He's limping on one foot. Rolls into the ring. Swerve super kicked him and hit him with a Swerve stomp and pinned him. And I'm thinking, why didn't they just end the match on the outside? Like, if he was that hurt, why did he need to go back in and take a super kick and a Swerve stomp? But he did. I guess maybe he wanted to finish.
That was the planned finish.
Well, I think they were planned to probably go a little bit longer, but I mean, this was, it was not very long at all, but, and it was disappointing because this first time they ever wrestled. And I think people were expecting a lot more from this, but yeah, I can't blame them. I mean, injuries happen, right?
Okay. So on the way out of the ring,
on the way out, he said,
do you have the words here?
He said he's going to find each and every one of them. And then I think he called them out for blood and guts.
Yes.
But he didn't mention when that is. We have no idea when it is.
No, it was basically, you guys can run or whatever, but you won't be able to run for me in blood and guts.
Yeah. And usually we do Anarchy in the Arena at Double or Nothing, and then Blood and Guts is usually a TV special sometime in June. Now, it's possible we're doing Blood and Guts. There's that 4-hour Dynamite Collision block that's coming up, and I think that's Fyter Fest. And I think it's in June. And my guess is that's when we're going to have Blood and Guts. That just a guess. I don't know. But
I trash when WWE does this. I'm going to trash when AEW does this. I want this to be a lot more natural of we need a Blood and Guts match versus it's Blood and Guts time. And we just have these people ready to go on 2 teams.
Well, I mean, if they're talking about it now and it's not going to be till June or July, I mean, like that's enough time to make it feel like, I think the Anarchy in the Arena one is the one where it's going to be like, oh, we're doing this because it's Double or Nothing and not because.
Keep talking. I'm going to turn off this fan that's in my back.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. So we got that. John says it was July last year, so that's okay. Fernando, Okada's part of the elite. Yeah, it totally made sense. Like, don't get me wrong. I think fans thought that maybe he was defending Kenny because we haven't seen the Okada and the Bucks together for a while. So, and maybe Okada would have been mad that they left. Who knows? So they announced that after the break, we're going to have, and this is a direct quote, the $400,000 explosive 8-man tag. So they announced this about 2 hours before Dynamite. It's this random 8-man tag, and we'll get into the participants later, but essentially the winners get to split $400,000. And
cool.
I'd like to see what the winners are going to do with their money, and I don't think we're ever going to know. Although they did talk about it. So they cut to the heels, and Ricochet says there's a lot Daddy can do with $400K. And his teammates aren't too happy about that. He says, I will lead Team Ricochet to victory because I'm the captain now. Then they go to the baby faces, and Briscoe says, the word of the day is entrepreneurial. We have an opportunity to split $400K. Will Ospreay, what you going to do with your money? And he says, I'm going to Disney World. Speedball says, I'm going to buy shoes. Kevin Knight says he plans to go to Magic City. Where is Magic City? What is that? I don't even know. Do you? Anyways,
it's probably I think it's a strip club, but don't quote me on that.
Because... I think you're right. And then Briscoe says, I plan to diversify my portfolio. And then he laughs and goes, ah!
Oh, no, Miami's Magic City. That's right.
Okay. All right. So, Lady B says it's a strip club. So, we'll get to the injury.
I did love Briscoe. What are you going to do? And he pauses and goes, I'm going to diversify.
Yeah, I'm going to diversify my portfolio.
Just the beat of that, where it's like it's almost like he's taken aback. Somebody asked him a question.
Well, and the funny thing is, he stopped and thought about it for a second, and then he answered. So it's like he didn't have an answer ready, which was kind of cool. Like, I really liked both of these promos. It was kind of cool. Now I want to see Kevin Knight at the Magic Club. I want to see Will Ospreay at Disney World. I want to see.
It's not the Magic Club. It's Magic City.
Oh, Magic City.
Even better because if he goes to a Magic Club and he does another one, and he's like throwing them at some dude with a top hat, taking a rabbit out of it. Like, yeah, this is much better than half naked women. The hell with that. And then I want to
see Mike Bailey in shoes. Oh, it's a nice, good strip club with good chicken wings. Okay, I'm sure that's why they go there.
Mike Bailey goes to Foot Locker. And he doesn't understand the concept of
shoes.
It's like, I have heard about these things that one puts on their feet for protection that are called shoes.
And then we get Mark Briscoe in his accountant's office looking over his stock portfolio. This is gold. It's gold, Jerry, gold.
I think I'd like to be in an index fund rather than stocks, just in case the tariffs come back. So, and he smokes a pipe. That's all I want. That's what I want.
So then they pitch. So we're still waiting for this match because they told us it was coming next, and then we get a segment. They're highlighting the Owen matches of Dynasty, so that's cool. And then we get a little bit of Mercedes. Do they not understand that these promos are taped and you can do a second cut? Mercedes tells Harley, and I quote, "Good luck against your match with Athena." Those were her exact words. I assume she was trying to say good luck in your
match
against
Athena.
Athena.
Yes.
But she says good luck against your match with Athena. And they don't bother retaping it. They
No.
just let it go. And then Mercedes, the puppet, tells Harley, next time let me talk. And that was kind of funny. I will say they did a promo on Collision that was pretty good. And they got some rock and sock vibes, courtesy of Lady B. She mentioned that in the Discord, and I can't unsee it now. And they are actually doing ratings when they're on the screen together. So I think this is going to be a thing with Mercedes.
No, I saw the one you're
Harley.
talking about. The one where she's stretching and it's telling her to stand up and stretch.
You're not stretching properly. Yeah. Well, Pac versus Swerve was too short. Yeah, well, Pac's too short, but that's another issue. No, but it's because he got hurt. Like, nothing we can do, right? All right. The Lady B and Curryhead talking about Magic City. I think I want to go now. All right. So they pitch to and so they so she does this. They show up the graphics, the Owen Hart, and then they announced here that on Saturday we're going to get Jamie Hayter and Billy Starks in a tournament match. Athena versus Harley Cameron, and the winner of Athena and Harley Cameron is going to face Monet next week at Spring Break. Now, they don't say which night it's on. A couple times later on, they said Wednesday, but the graphic just said next week. So I assume it's Wednesday, but I have a feeling it could end up being Thursday. Well, I guess we'll find out. Then they pitch to Renee, and they say to say she's with, and then they don't really say who she's with, and turns out she's with no one. She's just talking, and then Hangman walks by her, and she asks him, "How do you prepare for your opponent, the wild card? How do you prepare for question mark?" And he says, "I don't know what to do, but I'm going to do something anyway." And he leaves, and he goes into Swerve's locker room, busts in there. Swerve's not there, but he finds Nana, and he says, "I want to make something perfectly clear. I was not trying to help Swerve. You understand me? You two all tell Swerve if he even thinks about getting my way, I'll pick up where I left off." And then Nana says, "Hangman, there's something I've been wanting to tell you since last year. I can't talk for Swerve, but..." And then Hangman interrupts him and he says, "Stop, don't say another word. You don't get to do that." And he walks away. Now, I will say something about this. They actually set this up really well. If you remember back to when Swerve broke into Hangman's house, Nana was really uncomfortable with it and didn't want to do it. And they made a point of pointing that out. And I think he was going to bring that up here, and then Hangman wouldn't let him. So, but I think he wanted to say, like, I know we went over the line, and so I thought that was kind of realistic the way they did that. I liked it.
I liked it. I just don't like that. I kind of don't like that Hangman's back to being just a vengeful rage monkey storming the halls. He should have been affected by that thing last week. And he should be a little bit more, okay, he's in his head still, but he's not rampaging backstage. He's still kind of mumbling to himself, but he's not like just storming all around backstage just for no apparent reason or whatever. I mean, you could have had even just like walk with purpose to Swerve's locker room and done the same thing.
Like, we need to talk.
Yeah.
I'm still not convinced that, like, Hangman didn't ask the Bucks to do what they did, like, in storyline. You know what I mean? Like, they're playing it up like they did it to help Hangman, and we're supposed to think Hangman didn't want their help. And there's, like, he's not addressing them at all, and he should probably be addressing them. He should have busted into the Elite's locker room and said, "What the hell are you guys doing?"
And said, "Yeah, I don't want your help or whatever, and you didn't get my permission." But you could also excuse it by the fact that he was just storming and muttering to himself all night and probably didn't listen to the Bucks promo.
Does this Hangman Swerve thing feel like Roman versus Seth? Kind of, a little bit, like the feud that'll never die. Like, even when both guys are doing other things, they're always going to reference it, I think. Yeah. I compared it to Tommy Rich and Buzz Sawyer like years ago, and I'm still kind of sticking to that. But I mean, obviously it's a little more high profile than that, but it's like two guys that are just always going to be, at each other's there. And the funny thing is, they're probably going to team. I think they're going to end up in Anarchy in the Arena on the same team. That's my pick. I think it's going to be them and the Ops.
Blood and Guts.
Or Blood and Guts, or both. But it'll be them against the it'll be them against the Death Riders and the Bucks would be my guess.
Yeah.
At Anarchy in the Arena. So we finally get this 8-man explosive $400,000 tag team match. And it was Will Ospreay, Kevin Knight. Well, I already said the people. Will Ospreay, Kevin Knight, Mark Briscoe, Speedball against the Crew, the Beast Mortos. Sorry, it's not the Crew. It's Crew. You got to be very careful the way you say that. The Beast Mortos and Ricochet. And it started out, the crowd was a little bit quiet at the beginning, but then everyone got in there and started brawling, and they were going nuts. They were doing stereo punches in the corner, and the fans counted to 10. And then Taz had to joke, and he said, it's 40 punches, not 10. See the math I did? And Tony puts over his math. They quadruple teamed Ricochet. Crew tried to get in, get shoved off the apron. Briscoe and Ospreay did dives onto them. Knight did one onto Mortos. Speedball did one onto Crew. Fans are going nuts. Ricochet is in the ring by himself, and he sees all 4 baby faces on one side of the ring. So he's, I'm going to take these guys out. And he goes and runs and does a dive. And the way the camera shot it, it was perfect because they were in front of the baby faces. So you got the full view of Ricochet about to do his dive. As soon as he jumps, the baby faces all just step aside. The only thing better would have been if Ricochet would have just fallen flat on his face, but he landed on his feet. But then he landed on his feet, and he was right between them all, and they all chopped him in the head, in his bald head, as they pointed out. And then that's how they went to break. I thought that was all really good. And then when they came back, they just had a big party match. Everybody did a million moves, and fans went nuts and really loved this. Probably the best thing on the show if you like this sort of thing. The worst thing on the show, or on the match, I should say, and this was too bad because the best move I've seen in maybe the last 20 years was on the pay-per-view in the 3-way when Mike Bailey had been selling his leg for about 5 minutes, and he stands up and he's on one leg. And he does the crane pose. And Kyle Fletcher, was it Kyle? No, it was Ricochet. Looks at him and he says, you can't.
That doesn't work.
That doesn't work. And Mike Bailey kicks his head clean off his shoulders. It was beautiful. One take. I mean, it was unbelievable. So best thing I've seen.
I've seen that spot in he's done that in Reseda.
There's no way it was this good. Like,
no, probably not.
Yeah, like this was amazing. And then, of course, they had to try to redo it here, except it was Mark Briscoe and Mike Bailey, and they both missed terribly. Then they Ospreay hit an Oscutter on Mortos. Knight hit a reverse splash for the pin. Crew broke it up. Will tagged in, hit Mortos with a hidden blade, and got the pin. I thought the pin should have been when Kevin Knight hit that reverse splash because it was awesome. He jumps up in the air like as high as Montez Ford, does a spin, and lands the other way. I thought that would have been a great finish. And then Kevin Knight would have got the pin. Will Ospreay didn't need the pin, but whatever. I'm picking at straws. It was a fun match. It's great.
Yeah, party match. A
Reseda party match. Yeah.
Now I want to see them spend the money.
Yes, we definitely want to see them spend the money. So they cut to a video package of the Rated FTR breakup. They announced here that Cope was out indefinitely. Tony Schiavone cuts a promo into the camera. He's seen a lot in his 40 years of wrestling, going all the way back to the Four Horsemen. I've seen a lot of loathsome things, but Dax and Cash was, and I quote, the pinnacle of them all. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I don't think he used the words the pinnacle by accident. Maybe we'll see. Dax, your young daughter would be disappointed in what you did. It was premeditated. Mark my words. And Excalibur said it was a horrific act.
I was waiting when he mentioned the daughter for Dax to come storming out to do something about that one.
I think
that felt like a moment to me where it's like, oh, you're gonna get David Crocketed on TV.
Lady B says because FTR, we're gonna hear from FTR on Saturday. There's no way Dax doesn't address this, right?
And if Shivani's on the call, that could be something.
Well, Shivani is. He's on
that's what
every week.
but that's what I mean.
Yeah, they've got to take him out. I think.
I wonder if Nigel will come to his defense.
Not if he's smart.
No, but still.
And doesn't he hate Edge? Anyways, I think he's always constantly like cutting down Edge.
I know he hates Brian Danielson.
No, you know who might save him? Christian Cage.
No, not yet. They haven't split up the patriarchy yet. He can't save him.
All right. Yeah, you're probably right. Then we go to and to continue the Raw theme, an MVP and Hurt Syndicate celebration of their big tag team title defense over Brian Keith and Big Bill and like
over Brian Keith. Oh, we're having a celebration over Brian Keith.
Yeah, and Big Bill.
Yeah. Well, Bill was.
So MVP cuts a promo. He says, as usual, 2 people stepped up and they were put down. He asked the people to join him in a toast. They've got champagne there. Crowd is pretty silent, actually. He's trying to get them to chant "We Hurt People," and the crowd's not really into it. And he says, we celebrate yet another successful championship defense. He pours himself a glass of champagne, and Bobby and Shelton each grab a bottle. So they're doing it in style. And before they can get too far into this celebration, out comes MJF, and he stood with them. Just stands there like he belongs. It was beautiful.
I am watching Shelton fight for his life.
Yes,
he's
looking over at him, and he's like,
he is corpsing like Stevie Ray.
Yeah. Jimmy Fallon is telling him, "Hey, lighten up, dude."
But
they cut to Bobby.
MJF and he's playing a deadpan. He's
Will Ferrell. He's Will Ferrell. He knows he's got him, and he's digging it in. Bobby is looking the other way in his goofy Ricochet glasses.
It looks like a jacked up RuPaul in those glasses.
Yes. Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to let him see that. But I wrote down he's wearing Trevor's glasses.
But he looks crestfallen too at the same time. It's like,
and MVP's just bemused by this whole thing. Fans are chanting, "He's our scumbag." And then MJF starts to talk. He says, "Look at us. We hurt people, baby. This is great. Guys, look at us. We're dripping in gold. You're welcome, by the way. This couldn't have come at a better time. That guy, Tony Khan, wanted me to do the Owen Hart tournament. That schmuck. I'm not going to wrestle every week. I work smarter, not harder." So, as I predicted, he's doing Eddie Thorpe. He wants to be gifted a title shot. He doesn't want to earn it. Now that I'm rolling with the syndicate, I get to cut the line and get back what's rightfully mine. The Triple B, baby. So I scratched your help, and God, without my help, woof. Now you guys get to help little old me. Everybody wins. Montel, serious question. How does this initiation work? We sign a contract. We get together in a room. What's going on? Bobby interrupts him. He says, "Shut up, Max. Shut your freaking mouth. Everyone saw what you did last weekend. I didn't see it, but I turned around. I saw Big Bill standing. So I just finished him because that's what we do. You tried to help us, but you couldn't get the job done. We don't need you." And then MJF gets in his face. And he says, No, it's cool. He said, "But don't point at me." Bobby says, "Don't you raise your mouth at me. I'll slap the piss out of you. Don't talk to me or I'll hurt you." So Shelton pulls MJF off. And at this point, I thought like maybe he's liking MJF. I don't know. And MVP calms Bobby down. And MVP grabs the mic and he says, "Cool off a second. Give me a second here. You know how I feel about you, Max. You guys, you all know how I feel about him. But you need 3 thumbs up to join the syndicate. So you all know my vote." Puts his thumbs up. And Max says, "We go way back, Shelton. Put your thumb up." And Shelton has his thumb in the middle. He's holding it forever. And then finally he does that. Crowd boos. And then Bobby hugged him, says thank you. And Shelton and Bobby grab their belts and left. MVP just tried. Sorry. He gets out and he leaves. Max is pissed off. Camera's still shooting him. He's like, "Get that camera out of my face." He's pissed off. And I guess we're left to wonder what's next. I liked it.
The promo later in the night is what's
next. We'd hear it next. But they do address this later. But I like what they're doing here. I really do. Entertaining. Yeah. John LaRocca, our buddy, on the Fight Game podcast, thinks it's the best thing AEW is doing right now. So I don't know.
I wouldn't disagree necessarily.
No, I like it. And although I would like to see Max wrestling because he's pretty good at it, but hey, work hard, work smart, not hard. So we cut back to Remarkable Renee, which Excalibur, I don't know if you've noticed this, he's taken to calling her Nay.
I have not noticed that, but now I'm going to. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
All right. She's with Megan and Penelope, and she asks how you're feeling after the surprising loss on Sunday. I think Renee might have been the only one that was surprised by the loss. Penelope says it was a taste of defeat, but it changes nothing. Everything this woman has been through has been erased because Tony barely survived. No, everything's just going to get worse. This division can't move on because she won't let it. She's going to be at Collision, and then she stops her, and she says, "I will make you bow down," and that was that. So
I like the Penelope. I like the Penelope Megan. Relationship though.
Yeah, Penelope's a good talker for her, and Megan's a good statue.
Don't need much more.
That match again. Like, I know we put it over earlier, but I'll do it again. Like, it was way better than I thought it was going to be. Megan's good. Megan's really good. And then we get to Kris Statlander and Thunder Rosa, which is an Owen Hart tournament match. And they had a pretty good match. But Timeless Tony was on commentary, and unfortunately, all she did was tell jokes. And
she brought her C material too. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, that too. She was, but the announcers were laughing their heads off. They weren't calling the match, which was sad because it was a pretty good match. The best line she had probably was she called Taz Tasmaniac. She says, "I moved your car, but I left my chewing tobacco in there." Yes. She called the Boston shows that are coming up an office blockbuster. She was talking about different people she teams with and their names. And she said, if Tony Schiavone and I were a team, we'd just be called Tits. Taz just lost it at that point. And they're trying to plug all in, and Tony's just talking all over them.
I loved Excalibur had a great line. Like, you're the best Tony I work with. And you just hear like grumbling or something after that.
Yeah, Schiavone's like, really? Oh, all right. Tony Storm said Texas is big, like her big package that no one is kicked out of, and the champ is still the champ. They went to break. When they came back, Tony said, contrary to what you might hear, do try this at home. And that's where I point out again, the announcers aren't even calling the action. Tony Schiavone said, oh yeah, this is where he said, Excalibur said she's an entertaining lady and his favorite Tony to work with. Tony says Stat dropped her on her head and she lost 3 inches, but then she saw Schiavone and she got it back. And
it's an erection joke.
I know. She doesn't get erections, I don't think. I don't think that's how that works.
It doesn't matter. They're not supposed to be accurate, but continue.
Okay, all right. Well, Stat
and then the same thing. And then the same thing happened to me when I wrestled Chris.
Yes. Yeah. Stat hit a blue thunder bomb for 2. The crowd's chanting, "This is awesome." The announcers are ignoring the action. Rosa hit a destroyer. Rosa went for something, but Statlander took her down with a lariat, hit her Saturday Night Fever for the win. Like I said, it was a good match, but I mean, the announcers didn't care, so I'm not sure why we were supposed to. But the Statlander is now going to face the winner of Jamie Hart and Billy Starks. I honestly have no idea who's going to win that one. I assume it'll be Jamie again, but who knows?
I thought Rosa looked rather motivated tonight.
Yeah. And I mean, she lost, but yeah, she looked really good. She actually, I should point out, on the way to the ring, she picked up a sign that said "Women's Wrestling is alive and well," and the camera made sure to point it out.
Out of everybody, though, she had the best. I hate that they brought this over from the other company, but whenever you have a tournament or something, everybody has to stop and look at the trophy type of a thing. Rosa had the best one, though. She just got puts her elbow on the table and poses like a picture and then goes on. It was kind of cool.
Oh, it's the closest she's ever getting to the Owen, unfortunately. They put the brackets up. The funny thing is they had like AEW Dynamite, for Statlander and Rosa, but then they had nothing for any of the other matches. And I'm like, oh, well, when are they going to tell us when these matches are? And then they just did. So they're going to be Saturday. And Mercedes is going to face the winner of Harley and Athena. I think I mentioned that earlier. They put up the men's brackets. No idea when any of the first round matches are yet. But then later on, they just told us. So I don't know. Then and this is the thing. This is like frustrating because Don Callis is next. He does a promo. And he's talking about the Owen, but he doesn't mention when the match is because I'm sure he didn't know yet. And he said all signs point to the Prota Shida final in the Owen. I'm like, at first I was like, Hikaru Shida's in this? But no, it's Shita for Takeshita. And he didn't want to say Shida, so he said Shita. He said the Protostar already beat the degenerate Mark Briscoe. And even though Brody King got one over on the Don Callis family last week by beating Lance Archer. He was like disgusted at that. He said, "It shan't happen again. You're in the ring with the Alpha, Brody King. These two guys are jacked, oil up, and hot. Healthy young men." It's a little uncomfortable with the way.
That's a little uncomfortable. Yeah, no, I felt the same way. Okay.
Okay. So he was going for that, I think. He said, but there's a couple other members of the Callis family that aren't healthy. So the Callis family is now accepting potential new members. Send your resume, send your picture, send your bank account number. As these two guys have proven, it's straight to the top when you're in the Don Callis family. So I guess we're going to get some new members. I can't imagine who they might be. Maybe Buddy Matthews. I don't know. He's hurt. That's right.
Well, I thought maybe a tag team. I thought maybe like Private Party or something like that coming back. And
oh my God, I can't.
But I'll tell you who I think it's gonna be.
It's
gonna be Kevin Knight. Kevin Knight.
Oh,
we're doing that story where all of Will's friends turn on him.
Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe they'll try to get Mike Bailey and Bailey.
Maybe Sammy Guevara will come back.
Poor Sammy. He's wrestling on ROH, just biding his time till he can go hang out with Cody again. Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah.
I thought maybe FTR for a moment, but I think Kevin Knight's probably the call here.
I like that. Yeah, because I mean, yeah, he might fit right in with them. And yeah, you just think of him as like as a baby face, he's just gonna be like lost in the shuffle.
He's young, he's 20-something, he's jacked, and he's new.
He's young, hot, and healthy.
And oiled up.
I don't know. Yeah. They cut to an interview with the TNT champ, Adam Cole. So the TNT championship has already gotten more airtime on Dynamite than it did the whole time Daniel Garcia was champion. I don't think he was on Dynamite once. So Kyle O'Reilly says we've been chasing that one moment. And then Roddy Strong says, tell the world what we already knew. We are the elite of the elite. Speaking of moments, Kyle, it's about time we have our moment. And then Adam Cole says, Roddy, you will. Excellence defines you, and you define your failures. These last 2 years were the worst 2 years of my life, but this is just a start for the three of us. It's a new era in All Elite Wrestling. We are the Paragon, and that is undisputed. I don't know. And then they go to the announcers, and the announcer's like, Paragon? I guess we're supposed to think Paragon means something. I don't know. Maybe they're changing their name. Who knows? But it's weird because he kind of emphasized era, even though they're not allowed to be called the Undisputed Era, because that was the NXT name, right? So, anyways, the Learning Tree comes out, and during Jericho's entrance, well, I say that it was actually just Jericho. They showed highlights.
Oh, okay, we didn't talk about this during the Dynasty wrap up for the most part, but apparently, if you bring your mommy to a match, she can get it restarted.
Yeah.
What?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I fell asleep during that match, and then I woke up, just as the finish happened. So I kind of missed what happened, and I wasn't gonna rewind at 1 a.m. to find out what happened. So why did they restart the match?
Because mom and sister were allowed to go to ringside and make their case to Aubrey, who found the bat lodged in between the ring and the stairs. So
did he actually use the bat?
Yes.
Okay.
But nobody saw it.
Right. Okay. No, that's fair. Okay. So okay. I get you. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's bullshit, but apparently, I think it was Lucha Fan on, one of the big Lucha guys says this is a common thing they do in Lucha, though, where
that's
the baby.
Fine.
It's like the reverse Dusty finish, is what it is. Yeah. He lost his title, and he comes out, and I will say, his hair is looking like as good as it's looked in like 10 years. Oops. And I thought he's gonna challenge him to a hair versus mask match, and he's gonna get shaved, but that's not what they did. He says, I am the legendary Chris Jericho, but I am no longer the Ring of Honor World Champion. On Sunday, I lost my match, I lost my tooth, and I lost my title. But even though it's disappointing, I have to give credit where it's due. Bandito, you pulled it off. After a month of conflict with one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, me, Bandito was victorious. and he saved his mask with the assistance of his intrusive siblings and his stooge mother. But I get it. He's got his family, and I've got time, and I've got mine, so I'm going to bring them out. He brings out Big Bill and Brian Keith. Says, I was hoping that the three of us would have championships tonight because I was hoping the two of you would win the AEW World Tag Team Championships at Dynasty, but you didn't do it, did you? Bill stops and he grabs a mic. Crowd's chanting, Bill, Bill, Bill. Bill says, look, Kris, I know what you're going to say. You're angry. You have every right to be. I'm angry. In fact, I've been angry a lot as of late. Brian Keith's trying to stop, and he's like, no, he needs to hear this, and I know you know because we've spoken about this. Kris, I have the utmost respect for you. Greatest of all time, one of the most decorated performers in the history of this industry. That's why I decided to join the learning tree, because I wanted to learn from you. But I did not sign up to be your punching bag whenever things go wrong. Crowd pops. So if we're out here so you can teach us something, by all means, go ahead, teach. But if we're all out here so you can berate us and publicly humiliate us, then let me know right now and I can leave. And I know Brian feels the exact same way. So Jericho gets in Brian's face and he says, do you? And Keith doesn't answer him, but he just stares at him. Because that's not why I brought you out, either one of you out here. And if that's what you think, then you got more to learn than I thought. When I said I wanted to win the tag team champion, when I said I wanted you to win the tag team championships, I meant it. I handpicked both of you to stand by me to help you. You have potential. Your future world champions. Your victories are my victories, and your failures are my failures. And you weren't there for me when I needed you most. I lost the ROH title, and you weren't there. Some say it was all your fault I lost the match. So now he actually is berating that, like Big Bill said earlier. I thought that was funny. Yeah. And he says, I lost the So some people say it was your fault that I lost the match. But I'm not saying that. I don't believe that at all. It's okay. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. He grabs his bat and he smashes his TV. He says, I'm disappointed. Smashes it. I'm disappointed. He just smashes it. Starts thrashing his whole set. Big Bill and Keith are like freaked out. And he said something, he got bleeped. I think he said, I'm fucking disappointed.
He said, fucking disappointed.
Yeah, and he's like, in you. And Big Bill looks pissed. And he says, until you change that, I think it's best that I leave. So he leaves the ring. Crowd starts singing the Na Na Hey Hey song. Shivani says he's never seen Jericho like this. On the way out, some little kid asked him for an autograph, so he stops, signs the autograph, smiles, and waves at the camera.
I missed that. Okay.
Yeah, no. But then he keeps walking, and somebody else says, Maple Leaf, buddy. Fucking Maple Leaf. And like, it's on camera.
Go F of Maple. Yeah, it was one of the guys on the aisle. I saw.
Jericho just no-sold that. So it's a little heated between Canada and the U.S. these days. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then that was that. So Big Bill and Brian Keith were left in the ring, and don't know where they're going from here, but we're building to a split.
I know that, but I also don't like this because it did nothing for either Brian Keith or Big Bill. This was all about Jericho, and whatever new gimmick from whatever movie Jericho is going to decide to rip off now.
Yeah, well, call himself the Legend, I think was a clue.
I'm somewhat relieved that didn't go down the way that I predicted last week, which was that Big Bill decides to turn on Jericho after Jericho berates Brian Keith, and then Brian Keith joins Jericho and beats Bill down. I didn't want that to happen.
I like those two as a team.
I do too.
Yeah.
I just wish they'd let Brian Keith win occasionally.
And they could have let him say something to Jericho, but I guess they didn't want to.
But I mean it's top heavy with baby faces right now. Where does Big Bill fit if you decide to push him? That's the problem.
Unless Jericho just leaves, and then we're left with Keith.
I think he's just leaving, and I think they're going to be on their own, and I think there's going to be a lack of creative for stuff to do until Jericho comes back.
And I don't think they're winning the tag titles anytime soon. When you got
no
FTR, the Bucks, and the champs right now in there, they're quite a ways away from the tag team titles. They showed highlights from 0 Hour and Anthony Bowen's return, and I was fast forwarding through the package because that was just me highlights. But I guess Bowen was cutting a promo as well, and the one thing he said was he's going to prove them wrong. I will say we didn't talk about this. So Anthony Bowen's answered Max Caster's open challenge, beat him. He's got a new gimmick. He's the 5-tool player, and he's also the pride of professional wrestling, which
he's used the 5-tool player before.
But he's got 5 TP on his like gear now, and on his Contron.
Right, but
And
that was his nickname when he did his NXT tryout too. Was the 5-tool play?
Yeah, but they're actually like the logo, and it's funny because when the 5 TP went up, when I first looked at it, I thought it was like STP, and I'm like, oh, is he a Stone Temple Pilots fan? And I brought that up in the chat, and Lady B,
I hope you
had
were.
never heard of Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh wow!
Sadly.
Okay,
I think that's what she was saying, or she was like, who? But I thought I will say I thought the presentation was really good. He still got Billy Gunn with him, and it came off like a big time star. Now, do I think they're going to do anything with him? No, but I hope they do. And I mean, early returns are good.
I think they'll do something with him as long as the PR is good.
It's just like how high does it go? I mean, we got Hologram, who's won like 22 straight matches, and I don't think he's any higher up the card than he was the day he started. And the thing is, like, he's going to beat a lot of guys lower than him, but who's he going to beat above him? That's the question.
Nobody. Yeah.
Right.
Probably
And
not.
yeah. So hopefully I'm wrong. And, if he gets over, like, maybe he does start getting some wins, and cause like, he's a good dude. Like he's talented as hell. He's a good promo, great look, a little on the small side, but, I wish the world for him, and I love the gimmick. I really do. And yeah, so it was a good start. It's sad that we're not going to see Max Caster anymore, but whatever.
Still plays competitive rec league softball, baseball out here.
Yeah. Well, he posted a picture on Sunday of his team, like he was trying to throw people off because he was making like he was about to head to a game.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah. Then they announced some stuff from Collision. So we're going to get Anthony Bowens against Blake Christian. So Blake Christian, he's getting on TV every week now and losing, but he's a good jobber. We will hear from FTR, and here's where they announced the Owen match with Brody King and Konosuke Takeshita, Jamie Hayter versus Billy Starks, and Harley versus Athena, which I assume will be the main event. Yeah, so that's at one side of the bracket. Or no, Hayter versus Starks is to see who faces Statlander, and yeah, Harley versus Athena is to see who faces Mercedes. So like after next week, we're already going to know the finals, I think, which doesn't even happen until Double or Nothing. So it's kind of cool. They'll have a month to build that, which is really good. They go backstage, and this is, you talked about this segment earlier. Alicia Toot was with the Hurt Syndicate, and she says, we've seen some interactions with MJF. Bobby says, why are we talking about MJF? I don't like him. We don't need him. Shelton says, you're right. We don't need anyone. And then he says, George Costanza is kind of funny. That's bordering on racist, is it not? Or anti-Semitic? No?
I think it was just a comparison to the character. I wouldn't go so far as make it racial.
Right. Then he leaves
because then MJF comes in and calls his girlfriend a skank.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. So are they still together? I assume they are.
I think they are still together. Yeah.
Yeah. He leaves with Bobby. MVP's about to say something, but MJF interrupts, and he says, "This is an AB conversation, so why don't you see your skank ass out of here?" And then so Alicia
slaps her on the butt. Yeah.
Pouty look on her face. She leaves, and MJF asks Montel, "Do I look like a female dog to you?" And he's like, "No." He says, "So why do I keep getting treated like I'm some punk bitch? I'm MJF." And Montel says, "They know exactly who you are, and your reputation precedes you. This is business. Get your customer, find out what they want, and give it to them." And MJF ponders this as we go to the next scene. So now I guess we're going to see, MJF's going to try to figure out what Bobby and Shelton want, which my guess is he wants them to hurt people. I don't know.
Well, they're not a diversified business necessarily. They don't have a lot of interest in a lot of irons and other fires other than hurting people. Although to me, it'd be funny if they wanted Wardlow and they were using MJF to get him.
That could be. MJF, he'd probably fit in better. Like MJF is bringing in his own crew to take on the Kurt Syndicate. I wonder if maybe it's spelled differently and it's CRU and it's
No.
Well, that will fail miserably, so it could be funny. If he brought in the crew to help, but
well, if it was the pinnacle of bad stuff.
FTR.
It might be FTR that he's bringing in, and that could be
really
something.
interesting. Yeah.
Give Tully a job back again.
So for some reason, we cut to Chris Jericho, and he's in the parking lot, and he's like throwing things around, gets into a limo and leaves. I think, now they didn't say this, but I have a feeling this is like Chris Jericho like leaving the show for a few months.
Yes.
I don't know that, but they sped off and then they put the brakes on. Did you notice that? Before the thing ended? Like, it's like you couldn't have cut 1 second earlier.
Yeah, we didn't edit it properly, or we shot it live and we forgot to cut away.
It live. Yeah. So, and then we go to our main event, which is Claudio, Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta against Samoa Joe and Hook.
I'm sorry. What was the main event last week?
I believe it was Claudio.
I know what
and
it was.
Cope.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going back to this well again. Yes. So once again, we need to have Claudio in the main event.
Ratings machine, Claudio Castagnoli. And crowd is dead early. I wonder why. Wheeler at one point comically missed a dive. That was funny. Hook suplexed him a few times. Crowd's starting to get into it at this point. Joe tags in, starts beating on him some more. Excalibur at this point says we may go to the top of the hour. It's like, oh, really? It's Dynamite. I think we're going past the top of the hour. Tony Schiavone called this a great night, top to bottom. Liar. They went to break with 3 minutes left in the show. They came back at the top of the hour, so that always works really well. So they're double teaming Hook through the break. When they came back, crowd was dead because they're not really into this babyface Hook when he's selling. Mox comes out and he gouged. I guess it was Hook's eyes. And the announcers pointed out that that's what he did to Shibata earlier. Ref had been distracted. Then he grabbed a chair. Shibata comes out and he choked out Mox from behind. Then we see Claudio and Joe brawling on the outside, and Joe starts choking Claudio out. And then Hook choked Wheeler in the ring, and he tapped, and the crowd went nuts. And it's kind of good. Like, we had the 3 Death Riders all getting, they had the numbers were the same, so they actually got beat, which is kind of cool. But then immediately they cut to Shibata. He's still got Mox in the choke on the ramp, and Mox looked completely out of it. Then Marina's in the ring with a chair. She took out Joe's knee, and now it's a 3-on-1 attack on Wheeler. Shibata came in for the save, but he got quickly put away by Claudio. I wrote down they're about to pile drive Hook on a chair, and then they did. Like, I thought somebody was going to make the save. I wrote down where's Swerve, but then I forgot. Like, Swerve wasn't mad at them; he's mad at the Bucks, so he wasn't going to make the save. And then Joe came in with a chair to make the save. Death Riders bailed, and I wrote down we're clearly getting Joe versus Mox soon. And Joe grabs a mic and he says, "Death Riders, you cowardly sons of bitches. You see, the Ops came to Baltimore to get into a fist fight. It seems like the Death Riders are acting like a bunch of dick riders right now." Stole my line.
I know.
Found chanting Joe.
Did it better. It's now his. I'm sorry.
He did, and I can't use it anymore. He said, "So I say we make this real simple. The Ops versus the Death Riders, and we're coming for the Trios Championship." And then they do one last quick plug for Collision, and the Ops left. One problem with his challenge, Pac was legitimately injured in the match with Swerve, so I don't think he's going to be able to defend the titles. So I was thinking about this, and then I was thinking what would make a ton of sense would be Mox steps in to defend the Trios titles, steps in for Pac. Joe chokes out Mox, wins the titles, and then that sets up a Joe versus Mox world title match at Double or Nothing.
I'm cool with that. Joe's always welcome at the top of the card.
Yeah. The only problem with this, my theory, is that they've already established when somebody on a team gets injured, the titles are vacated. Because you'll recall it was Jay White and the Gun Club, or I think it was Juice Robinson, the Gun Club, had the Trios titles. Juice got injured, and they stripped them of the titles. So they could strip them of the titles and then just have Mox, Wheeler, and Claudio against the Ops for the vacant titles, and then the Ops win. And you still do my finish of Joe choking out Mox. I would do that.
Or they just have the Death Riders win and they keep the Trios title and we continue this story.
I think it's time for the Death Riders to lose some gold, but who knows? You might be right.
What the stories? Look, we're just in the second inning.
Oh my god. Yeah. So that was Dynamite. You know what? It's funny. Before we started, I was like kind of negative. I think somebody on Twitter commented he did not like a lot today, and I actually responded to him and I said, "Oh, so it wasn't just me then." But the funny thing is, as we're going over the show, like there was quite a bit of stuff I liked on the show, but I will say what I don't like is storylines that involve teams fighting for control of the company. I wish it was about the title, but I mean, it will be about the title. We know we're heading there. I mean, we all know the end game is Ospreay versus Mox at All In. Like it.
How about this? We did it because we don't like you, Swerve. Oh, then they made it personal.
Yeah, you could do that. Or you know what? They could even say so much as, you know what? You were the champion last year. We didn't like how things went last year. If you'll recall, that's when we took out Tony Khan, was when you were champion.
Yeah.
You know, we don't like you as champion. We didn't want you to be champion again. So here we go. But it's all about the elite. And, and they brought Kenny in. So now it's like, restoring the feeling. We're getting back to, 2019 and when everyone loved each other and everything.
God, I will love if I never hear restore the feeling ever again.
Oh, you're going to hear that. That's like Will Ospreay's catchphrase.
It is Will Ospreay's catchphrace. That's why I'm saying that.
I know. And Kenny used it tonight. So, yeah. So I think that's where we're heading. Will Ospreay and Mox probably at All In. And I'm here for that. And, you crown Will Ospreay. Then he goes to London at Forbidden Door, gets to defend the title in his home country. That's cool. And eventually Darby will come back from the mountain. All will be fine. Feeling will be back.
Maybe.
We got Okada and Omega. You know what? All In is really shaping up to be good. Like Lady B asked us about All In a while ago, and I feel like a lot of the stuff we predicted is what they're heading to. We're probably getting FTR against ANC, CNC Wrestle Factory. That's my name for them. Claudio, Christian, and Cope. We're probably getting Bucks against Hangman and Swerve. We're probably getting, I would say, Mercedes and Tony, maybe, or might be Athena and Tony. I mean, it's looking like a pretty big card, and the tickets are starting to move again. So, I think they're up to like 13,000, and we still got 3 months. So, I think they're going to get 20 to 25,000 in there, which that's a good crowd. That's a really good crowd. So, they've already broken their U.S. domestic gate record, so that's good too. So that's about it. I'll let you do your plugs, and then I'll plug what we got to plug.
Oh, okay. You can follow me on Twitter at CrapGame13. I do a show on Voices of Wrestling called Shake Them Ropes this week. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty, and we're finally getting a little bit of heat in these WrestleMania, Road to WrestleMania programs. Some of them are a little more bumpy than others, and also that NXT wasn't anything to write home about, but we'll talk about that. I'm pondering Vader Club. It might just be an angle this week. It might be Ole Anderson turning on Dusty. That's what I'm looking at giving a no, because he's never seen it. Also, for any fans of me, all three of you.
It's everybody.
Yes. Well, I'm doing the post WrestleMania shows on Fightful with Sean Ross Sapp. So.
Oh, cool.
So if you don't want to listen to our own, which I'm not trying to drive away listeners from, but maybe afterwards you can download my show and listen to it. How about that?
Yeah. And Sean usually has some scoops, so that's cool too. And you get to hear Jeff's analysis. So that sounds really fun. And for me, I got this show, but you and I are going to do a show. We're going to review that Fyter Fest from 2021. We'll try to get it done this weekend. So stay tuned. I'll send it out on Twitter. You'll get a notification if it's going to be on YouTube, and we're $20 towards our next one. So if we get another $5, we can do another one, and whoever gives it to us can pick. So look forward to that. There's a lot of cool stuff out there we could do. So for Jeff Hawkins, I've been Paul Fontaine, and this has been the Dynamite Show.